You're welcome to the bulletin. In our first story, the lawyer for the students who have been denied admission from Achimota School has indicated that the families of the students are willing to go to court to compel the school to admit the students. This comes after the Ghana Education Services directive to admit the students was rescinded by the Education Service itself in collaboration with the leadership of Achimota Senior High School. Let's hear Anis Hafa, who we had a conversation with on the matter. He believes that these parents can seek an amicable solution as opposed to going to court. My name is Daniel Dazi. You're live on Joy Prime Television. Our guest this evening is none other than a member of the Ghana Education Service Council. He's the founder of the Gate Institute, and he's an educationist, columnist, teacher par excellence. We need to have this conversation with him because it looks like our education is at a crossroads. There seems to be a clash between culture, freedom, and learning. How can we be in a safe space, everyone expressing themselves as they should, and still respect what it means to be Ghanaian, what it means to be from where we are? Anis Hafa has walked this tightrope for decades, and he'll be lending us his experience this evening. Mr. Hafa, welcome.
Thank you. You are welcome to my office.
Thank you. It's a lovely office, I must say. I wonder if someone can ever finish reading all the books here.
I don't finish reading all of them, but I read chapters. There are some books that, of course, you read the whole thing. But I look at the table of contents and I read the chapters that are important to me.
That's something for me to carry with me. So let's go straight to these issues. Achimota School allegedly refused entry to two students. The Ghana Education Service has responded. Unfortunately, that does not close the chapter. We now have the Old Accredited Association responding, the National Association of Graduate Teachers also responding. What do you make of these, developments?
What I say is that now we have a kind of worms, and the opportunists are everywhere. People trying to bring their own fears and anxieties into education, that sort of thing. But in the beginning, though, what you said was that now we have a measure of cultures, freedom, and learning, and how do we tie them all up? The first thing I'll tell you is that no school anywhere can be everything to everybody. We have to understand that. So basically, when we look at education, we are looking at schools as part of a larger ecosystem. What that means is that we can have particular schools doing particular things. We can have particular schools not doing particular things, and so on. That's why we have girls' schools, boys' schools, mixed schools, and that sort of thing. But now when it comes to this aspect of the culture, the first thing that we have to realize, especially now, if you look at the population of Achimota, about 3,000 students, and you have one headmistress, then the question is this: how much can one person take? We have to begin to put things in perspective.
Okay.
So the issue of parents now is for them to be considerate, that they have to put themselves in the place of the heads of those schools, and then ask themselves these questions. For example, if you have someone coming with dreadlocks, I love them. My kids used to feature them that way. And I've been with Bob Marley. I like his music, Peter Tosh.
I see a poster here, actually.
Yeah,
Bob Marley,
and the rest of it. But then we have to be practical. When I was in the School of Education, two key things that were taught before the cognitive stuff: the health of the students, number one, and the safety of the children. So it wasn't religion, it wasn't anything. It was making sure that your child is safe in this particular environment. Those are the key things. The other things are secondary. So the question is this: when we begin to look at the educational ecosystems, then the parents have to make up their own minds. This particular school that my kid is in, will they be better off as boarders or as day students? We all want to be seen to be helping every institution to be successful. So these are the larger questions. When parents come to me to ask where should they send their kids, I say go to the school and find out what are the rules and regulations. That's number one. Number two, is it a safe school for your kid? Because you want them to be protected in some way. And then go to their toilets. Are they clean? make those judgments for yourself before you decide where you want to place the school. But like I said earlier, no school can be everything for everybody. We need to be clear on that right from the onset.
Okay. So what then would you say would be the choice that has to be made? Would you say that the choice that has been made for these boys to go to Achimota is the best one to make the school a safe space for all the kids?
You know, my 2 daughters went to Achimota school. And part of the rules was that they have to have their hair short. It was very difficult for me as a father cutting their hair. But then I had to make a decision. What's in the best interest of my daughters? So before the beginning of every term, you know, I'll barber them. Or a pair of scissors, you know, they don't like it and so on. But for me, as a parent, I'm looking at it from another angle. What to be expedient for them, because I want them to go to school and do well, and hopefully move on to college and that sort of thing. So hair can be grown at any point in time, so that wasn't my consideration at all. And I don't think now they miss it that much. But then we also want to, I mean, I think the reason is because it's a religious reason. That
exactly.
Right. Now, you know, religion was not, you know, we have to put religion in perspective. Man was not made for religion. You know, religion was made for man. We have to identify the symbolism of all this. So what I'm saying, if I were the father, the first question is this: what do I do with my kid? Knowing that, for example, look at water shortages in our public schools, for example. Sometimes we don't even have water to flush our toilets. Sometimes we don't have water to even wash our hair. So what parents have to do now is, what is safe for my kid? Will it be, you know, in a home situation, they might have all these amenities, but you have to understand that those amenities are not necessarily provided in the schools for you. So these are the difficult decisions that parents have to make. But I don't want parents to hold schools in bondage. In other words, the schools can only do so much. So we have to be very careful in terms of our expectations, especially when they are impossible expectations. And the other thing, you know, and I mentioned water. You know, if you're at home, you probably have a bathroom to yourself. You know, God knows how many times you want to wash your hair in the course of a day and so on. But then we need to be health conscious. That's one of my main concerns. If I had a kid who was in that situation, those are the questions that I ask myself. But I don't think we should put undue burden on the schools, because already things are difficult as is.
How would this be burdensome for the school?
Okay, we are looking at it in a condition where, for example, the kid has to be up, ready to go. You know, will the school hamper the progress of the kid? You know, is there a time that he has to wash his hair? You know, that sort of thing. You want to begin to understand that does he have to have a cap on all the time in the heat? You know, these are considerations. And also, you don't want, for example, I remember when I'm doing teaching students to do presentation skills, one of the first things I ask you to do is never scratch your hair. And that's for girls who wear wigs or who wear weave on. It's very, very important to me, because here you are in an international setting doing a presentation to 500 people, 3,000 people, and scratching your hair. You know, we have to put all that into perspective, you know, so that the fashion becomes secondary, but not our primary concern. These are the things that I want us to look at. And even religion has to be in perspective, you know, because this is a large world, you know, and we want to be able to be comfortable in what we do. Comfortable for us and comfortable for other people. These are the things that I think we need to be aware of.
Great. I think that from what I'm hearing, it might not necessarily be the safest, given the context of the school system, for the boys to, you know, go to school with the longest of hair, with these religious choices that they've made. Is that the sense that...
That's one way to look at it, because, you know, we want to begin to look at, I don't want to call it baggage, but someone might have long nails and they are fashion for them. Someone, I mean, I got a little cartoon that was sent to me, an Okonfo, who wants to enroll in a school and he's put powder in her hair. You know, we want to be able to look at all of that and see how they fit in the school system. No, we need to be considerate. And, you know, like I said earlier, if you have 3,000 students, we want to be very conscious of how we want to raise them a certain way. And then with 3,000 kids, sometimes there has to be conformity. You know, we can't have people do what they want, when and how they want to do it. And I'm saying this even in the culture of gender, you know, cross-dressing and all of that. A kid comes to tell, look, I'm a boy, but I feel like I'm a girl inside. So I want to go to a girls' school. These things are coming, you know, so we want to be able to understand that if you look at a secular institution like the schools, we want to adapt in some way. The schools can't always adapt to us, but invariably we have to adapt to the schools. That is why I say that schools should be part of an ecosystem. Look at the range and see where your kid will fit. But we can assume that a kid will fit in every school. And the other example that I want to give is this. I serve as the chairman of the board of governors of Tema International School. 300 students. And, you know, they can have their hair in which way they want. They can weave their hair, they can braid, they can wear, they can make it rasta and so on. But that's part of the structure of that particular school. In terms of extracurricular activities, and also life skills. And there are particular teachers whose responsibility is for that. Help youngsters in this kind of endeavor and so on. That's their specialty. But then we have 300 students. It's easier to handle that. So again, part of what we have to begin to understand is that when the institution gets large, there are already existing problems there. How much more do you want to add to it?
But the question then would be, if it's a publicly funded institution, then every individual has the right to express themselves the way they want to over there, which is the opinion that has been expressed.
Can you imagine 3,000 students, each one expressing themselves the way they want? There has to be some element of conformity. You know, it's not easy to manage these public schools because you're talking about 3,000 kids with 3,000 parents who are thinking 3,000 ways. It's tough. You know, I don't know any institution, and you know, I've taught in other places that will be so open that we accept everything. You know, it might be uncomfortable sometimes, but the issue was this: we need to manage the schools where it serves the best interest of most people, but it can't serve the best interest of everybody. We have to be clear on that one.
So what then what about the argument that these people, it helps their creativity? Look at Tema International School, for instance. I'm sure that these kids who style their hair anyway, they might be stylists, they might be more fashionable in the future. It will help their creative juices flow. That argument that it makes. That is the idea.
You know, that is the idea of Tema International School and those who want to get into that business.
Okay.
But it's set up that way. Can we set the same thing up that way in Achimota, in Franspen, in Wesley Girls? You see, we can do whatever we want, but we have to be professional about it. And we have to have the right people doing the right supervision and guiding children the right way.
Okay.
That's very important. Frankly, you can do anything in the world that you want to do. You can begin to have an aeronautics school, but we have the teachers who teach it. You have the equipment that will complement it. Again, going forward, I think that's what I have to begin to look at. That, you know, again, when you look at the, what do you call it, the multiple intelligences. In our time, it was all the logical stuff. Do the maths, interpersonal, speak, and that sort of thing. But things have changed. Now there are professions that we don't even know are coming on board next year, you know. But then if you want to make allowances for those things, that's fine too. But we have to prepare for it so that we are not taken by surprise. You know, the other thing I got disappointed is where people thinking about suing schools and that sort of thing. That's already, secondary school is free. You don't have to pay for water. You don't have to pay for electricity. You don't have to pay for food. You're going to sue again? We have to be practical. What I tell parents is this. This is the time, especially in Ghana, where all hands have to be on deck. That anybody who has a child in any school has to be seen visibly helping that school to succeed. You know, we tend to kick back and point fingers at certain things that are not being done and so on. But what is your contribution? We have to begin to look at it like that. I don't care if other countries are not doing that. That is their business. But for us today, every parent has to have a shared responsibility and making sure that the schools their kids are in, that those schools are successful. We tend to be a little too selfish, I think.
For these parents, maybe this is their contribution to the success of the school.
Then, okay, now they have to make allowance for them then. What I'm saying is that whatever we want to do has to be organized. You know, if there's a contribution that they want to make, we need to define that contribution and how that contribution itself is going to benefit the school. But we can't do things in a haphazard way. You know, again, I'm quite liberal. But when it comes to management of schools, you know, I'm very conservative. Because we don't want any kid hurt. I'm not saying this is going to hurt anybody. But there has to be boundaries within which the school authorities themselves are comfortable, where the teachers themselves are comfortable. We have to put that in perspective. Otherwise, we begin to be a little too adventurous, you know. And I like adventure. You know, you want to fly airplanes, fine. But you need to have the right instructors. You need to have the right equipment. You need to have the right planes. And not because I want to fly, and therefore I'm going to fly regardless of the safety issues. These are things that we want to be aware of.
Now, the Ghana Education Service issued a directive to Achimota School that they should allow the students to go to school. What do you make of this move, given, you know, the conversation we've had so far?
You know, I never want to talk for the Ghana Education Service because I'm not a spokesperson. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of the Ghana Constitution, that every child has the right to education. We have to understand that. We have to make that. In fact, that's what free education is all about now. The free secondary education is all about now. But we have to put things in perspective. We have to have the wherewithal to make sure that whoever comes to those institutions can succeed. You know, there's that. We need to make allowance for every student, but we have to make allowance where it's practical and they can succeed without putting undue stresses on the management of the schools. That's very important. That's why there are choices. Would you rather go as a day student? Would you rather go at a border? But the government is still fulfilling its obligation in terms of providing free, good, equitable education for everybody.
So would you advise, for instance, that these boys go as day students?
You know, I think we have to look at this case properly. We need to sit down with the management of the school and let them understand the ramifications of what is going to happen. And for me, the health issue is very important. I mean, how often, for example, does he have to wash his hair? We have to put that in perspective. The reason why we used to cut our hair low in France is that sometimes we didn't even have water. So if you have a towel, you just sweep it across your scalp and you're in business. The same reason why I cut my children's hair before they went to school. I saw these things happening sometimes. You want to be able to do that. Hygiene is very important. I'm not saying that it's not going to be hygienic, but what I'm saying is this: we need to create the conditions under which when we bring these students in, they are catered for properly, not in a haphazard way, because the same parents who come and complain, but my child didn't have water to do this, couldn't do this and couldn't do that. We have to set the parameters together.
But this is a case where the GES has issued a directive. Take the kids without, as you say, considering the conditions. Well, I don't know what went into that decision, but the conditions that were there when the school refused the kids remain now. The directive has been issued. Good move?
Frankly, I don't know. I don't know, but my concern is that those kids have to feel comfortable there in terms of what they need. You know, if they feel comfortable that they can manage their hair, and there's sufficient. I don't know how often they have to wash their hair, for example. I mean, that's what I'm concerned about. You know, because we have situations where kids have to be comfortable, they have to be taken care of properly, and so on. The parents should really be part of this. That, look, here, I'm going to drop my kid in this particular environment. Is the kid going to be protected, considering the facilities and that sort of thing? I think parents should make
those.
However, if it's going to be too difficult for them, for the particular kid, again, that it's in what is in best interest of the child.
Of the child.
That's number one.
Of the child.
You know, because like
what about the relationship between the school authorities and the education authorities? Because that is also an important relationship. A decision has been made by the school, and a directive has been issued by education authorities. there's no clear policy statements from the education authorities on everyone, but a directive has been issued.
You know, what I say is this: one size does not fit all. You know, the easiest thing for me to do now is to write a directive and pass it through the system. But do we have the means to enforce it? Do you have the means to make it realistic? Do you have to have the means to make it work without it backfiring in that initial directive? One thing that schools hate more than anything else is directives, you know. But then again, the assumption, now, if you look at schools in Finland, for example, 0 directives. But those schools are professionally run by very qualified people. I mean, if you go to a typical school, elementary school in Finland, they use some of their best brains to teach the younger people. The younger brains are not sitting in ivory towers in the universities, no. Because the assumption is that once you're 18 and over, you can have a shared responsibility in your own education, but not in KG, not in nursery, not in the lower primary schools. You know, so they have that. Less directives, but the teachers are trained very well. So nobody gives them directives. In our situation here, we are forced to give directives because we are still guiding people to be professional. Because the chances are they are not professional enough on the first day on the job. You know, so they need to be helped all the time. But so those directives are important. But then it comes to a point where the directives can be choking. You know, because there's too much of it. You know, there's a directive today, you don't know what directive is going to come tomorrow. And I've had private schools come to me that they want to veer off the GS syllabus because there are too many directives. So they'll rather national. And they want me to help them to make that decision. It's one of the most difficult decisions that I have to make for this.
And it's Hafa there. He's an educationist and a member of the GS Council. Just so you know, we recorded that interview a few minutes before it emerged that GS had rescinded their decision, which is why he made the comments he made. Let's go straight to the phone lines now and speak with the chairman of the PTA for the Achimota School, because they've released a statement which says the Achimota School PTA executives unreservedly and unequivocally supports the school's decision to enforce its rules with respect to the admission of 3 students with dreadlocks hairstyle. It goes on to quote Article 14(1)(e) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. And then let's go to Dr. Kwesi Kuma now. Doc, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So this statement is from you?
Yeah, good morning.
So this statement is from you?
Yes, it's from us.
Great. Tell us again why you stand with the school.
Well, we are parents of the school. Our children are there. Some of us have had older children passing through the school. We've seen the benefits of enforcing school rules. Some of us in the PTA executive are also old students of the school. So we've had experience with this school for, let's say, 30, 40 years. And we see how good, when the rules are enforced, how it benefits us and our children. That is why we believe the school rules, especially in this particular case, should be enforced and maintained.
Okay, but here's the case where the parents of the boys believe that their constitutional rights to express their religion, their religious freedoms, are being infringed upon, and the school is, responsible for that.
Well, Achimota does not suppress anybody's religion. We have Christians, Muslims, etc. in the school. What the school is enforcing is hairstyle or general appearance, but not one's religious beliefs. So we have Muslims who are in the school, and the girls don't wear hijab in the school, but when they leave the school compound, they can wear hijab. So it's not that the student can come in as a Rastafarian, but must conform to the general appearance as it is in the school rules. And if that affects the hair, it should be enforced.
Doc, for the Rastafari, the hairstyle is actually like how Christians, for instance, wear rosaries, or how Christians, for instance, pray in the morning. That for them is their religious expression. which is why for them it's a point of insistence?
Well, if we should allow this, then we must allow the Catholics to also walk around the school compound with roses around their neck or on their wrist. We should also be ready to accept traditionalists to come in with locks and cowries and caps, etc. We should also allow Buddhists to come in with their unique way of dressing and so on. And that's going to breed indiscipline. Any student can just get up, or parents can say that this is what I believe in, so our children should grow facial hair, have long hair, etc. And it's going to breed indiscipline and open the floodgates for something we don't think we can contain. So going by this rule that has been maintained over several decades, which hasn't brought any problem, we believe that's the way we should go.
Right. Respecting your views, Doc, but is it really a matter of indiscipline because people simply want to express themselves? Don't these religions teach discipline? Don't these religions teach an adherence to rules so that if they're expressing themselves well, they are being good adherents to the religion, it could actually be used as a point of reference to correct them if things could go wrong?
I don't really get the premise of your question.
I'm saying that is it indiscipline for a Catholic to walk around with the rosary, or a Muslim to walk with a hijab, or a Rastafari to have long hair? Is it a matter of indiscipline, or it's simply a matter of worshiping God?
Well, in Achimota School, the students are allowed to worship in their various religious sects they belong to. And we also have a way where students have to appear decently. And it is important that uniformity is enforced across board. If we begin to allow people to appear differently based on their religious beliefs, we are opening the floodgates for people to appear anyhow, and maybe an eyesore for us parents, and maybe a way teachers, because imagine somebody can have some, I don't know whether you know how Mr. T used to look like in the 80s. Somebody can appear with Mr. T type of hairstyle and say that that's what he or she believes in. Because you've allowed one, then you need to allow all. And this is something parents are fearful it could happen. Therefore, enforcing this age-old rule that has helped us over the years is the best way to go.
And again, Doctor, just to try and understand your position well, and just playing the devil's advocate on this side, what is so wrong if you go to a school and children have creative hairstyles, or isn't the focus of the school studying and educating and nurturing them? Isn't the grades the most important and the knowledge they gather most important, as opposed to, just a hairstyle?
Well, you may say just a hairstyle, but a hairstyle could also be a distraction from the academic pursuits while the children are there. These hairstyles do need to be maintained, which could also take away time from the academic work. So to be a distraction, you know how students behave when they see this hairstyle, they see other hairstyles. Some of these have to be maintained, time, weather chemicals, other resources, and so on. And that is an unnecessary waste of resources, time resources and other resources, which is not the focus of the school. The focus is education, and bringing these other extracurricular distractions in will take away time from why the kids are there. So that is why hairstyle is not just a hairstyle or just an expression of oneself, but also important to the academic pursuit.
But again, if I may, the parents who are sponsoring the child's education have no problem if it distracts their children from their books, or if their children have to maybe spend on more hairstyles, or maybe their children are affected, if they indeed are, because of these. So if their parents have made that choice, are we not, forcing their hand to do something they don't want to do?
No, I believe every parent chooses Achimota School because they are pursuing academic and holistic excellence. So when the kids come into Achimota School job is to ensure that they turn out kids who perform very well, academically, and also holistic development. So the school cannot say that the parent does not care if the child does not do well. And over the years, when the school results don't go the way we expect, parents complain. When they follow terminal reports and there are challenges with it, parents complain. So we cannot assume that parents do not care if the academic results don't turn out well.
So pardon me, the hairstyle would affect the students' exam performance?
Yes, if it distracts from academic work, it can. Just like any other disciplinary issues we put in, the focus of the school is academic and holistic development. So there are many.
But these are boys who were in school and they performed well in the past, and they did not fail. They passed to go to Achimota with their hairstyles, so they've demonstrated that it does not in fact distract from the academics at all.
Hello,
Doc, are you with me?
Yeah, I didn't get the last part of your question.
I was saying that if they have performed so well in their earlier examinations to pass and go to a first-class school like a Chimota school, isn't that a demonstration that having this hairstyle does not distract from their academic work?
Well, you see, they may have been in a day school while they were in JHS. Okay, Achimota is a boarding institution. Achimota school mainly boarding and day. And it's a school environment, it's a school community. And over the years, the school administration knows what can breed in discipline. It knows how the children must conform academically and otherwise in order for us to get good grades and develop the children holistically. And appearance is one way that can take away from academic pursuits.
Right.
So we believe that the uniformity of appearance goes a long way to ensure that we focus on what the school is supposed to do.
Dr. Andre Kwesi-Kumar, thank you very much for joining us this morning on News Desk. He is the chairman for the Parent-Teacher Association for Achimota School. Let's move to other stories. And work on the Pokuase interchange is 95% complete. This is according to the site's engineer, Kwabna Bimpong. Speaking on the status of work to JoyNews' Mamavi Oso-Abuaje, Mr. Bimpong indicated that traffic has greatly eased even before the project is completed and handed over. He is, however, worried if hawking and other forms of traffic infractions are not checked, the project will be of no use to the commuters.
8 a.m. The traffic is flowing, which is very unusual.
Okay.
Really, really unusual if you are familiar with this road. So already I see that the objective, one of the objectives really is to for traffic to flow freely. And I see the evidence of it already. But because of where you've positioned the bus lanes, I guess if we were to use what the construction came with, then we can achieve that free flow throughout. But if we don't, and we create unnecessary bus stops, then we will still experience the traffic, wouldn't we? Because I see that there's a particular point, and perhaps because you are not done with that walkway, we can give that excuse and say people still use the road and stop and buy things because there's no walkway. Yeah. What's the importance of us sticking to what you've done?
Well, thank you very much. Like you rightly said, the road is not fully complete, and therefore the road which is supposed to be used by the trucks and the taxis and the other buses who desire to stop, especially at Pokuase, do not have that opportunity. So they are currently using the main dual carriageway to Kumasi, which is supposed to be an uninterrupted, highway, if I would put it that way. However, unfortunately, commercial drivers, look, if you took one lane, let's assume if you took just one lane, there will still be traffic flowing. But if you look at what they do there, they just block the entire road. And the hawkers and those who sell, yes, it is true, we have provided walkways on the extreme ends of the road. But then they have come all the way to where they are not supposed to be, and in some areas they are selling right in the middle of the road. So we've been juggling with, and again, it's a safety issue. Okay, so when the road is completed, we would have done our engineering. We've done all that we have to do so far as the engineering is concerned. But there's a need for education and then the need for enforcement, because it looks like if you just educate people and you don't enforce, you are not going to get that far.
Absolutely.
So this is a good observation.
Okay, great. So also explain to us, it's not just an interchange. You've got what you call the local roads.
Thank you.
There's also the street lighting aspect of it. So explain this project.
Okay, well, like you said, it's not. Let me just start with even the main, approach roads from Awoshi. You realize that the AFDB financed the construction of the first part of the road, almost 10 kilometers. Now, what we have done is to continue with that dual carriageway with service lanes from Canada area all the way to this place. That's about 5 kilometers, and it's a dual carriageway that comes all the way. That is actually completed. Now, beyond it, that is towards Kwabenya, we've done just about a kilometer or two, just to dovetail back into the single carriageway, because our money does not get far. But I know that in the future, that road is also going to be opened up into an 8-lane that will go all the way to the N1, that is to Tema. Now, on the Accra-Kumasi Road also, from Jonte, where the U-turn is, we've opened it up all the way, that's about 2 kilometers, all the way to Pokuase. And again, it goes back into the existing 2-lane dual carriageway. I know that the government has given a contract for the widening of the Pampor to where I just went to the U-turn.
The Jonte area.
The Jonte U-turn. And then beyond Pokuase U-turn, all the way to Isamam. We are going to have a 6-lane.
Okay.
So that would then open up the road and ensure that there will be free flow.
Okay.
So that is for the approach roads. Now, when we go to the various quadrants, and what I mean by quadrants, we have 4 quadrants. On the northeast, the southeast, and all that. We have provided over 15 kilometers of local roads, and these are single, surface dress roads, to ease traffic within the communities, and also to promote, if a road comes to an area, straight away the value of the community improves.
Yeah.
So we want to improve the livelihoods in these areas. So if you are from Accra going to, let's say, Kwabenya, you don't need to come to the interchange. We have a bypass about 2.6 kilometers that you can use and then join the Kwabenya road. So
this is before Jonte?
Before, well, if you are coming from Accra, it is just after Jonte.
Just after
Jonte.
Then you go off.
And you go off. You go off where the new fuel station is. Okay. You turn off, you go through it, and then you end up on the Kwabenya road.
Okay.
In a similar fashion, if you were coming from Kwabenya and you wanted to go to even Kumasi, okay, or to go to Pokuase, we've created another road that goes through the Pokuase town, hits the Katapo road, then joins back onto the old.
You're live on News Desk. Now, let me introduce you to a man who is a living example of the saying, when life throws lemons at you, make lemonade. 46-year-old Richard Nyako was a primary school dropout when he was jailed in 1997 for 24 years. After more than 20 years of prison life, he walked out of the Nsawam prison as an author, an evangelist, and a degree holder. Maxwell Agbagba was at the Nsawam prisons the day he was released and has filed this report.
Richard Nyako, leader of the prison's choir and head pastor of the United Prisons Fellowship, leads the prisoners to sing here at the Nsawam prisons.
The joy of reconciling back to the family.
Oh, I think, yes, they are. It is a bright morning at the Nsawam prisons. Nyako has been released after 24 years in jail. He was 22 years when he walked through the gates here. Now, he is walking out as a 46-year-old man. It is an emotional scene as he begs me to take a picture of him and his siblings who are here to take him home. One of them is his sister, Patience, a nurse. She was only 5 years when Richard was jailed. She's now 29.
No, she's 29. 29, yeah.
What's your name?
Patience.
Oh,
Patience.
Patience. Oh, okay. 24 years ago, what started as a normal day nearly ended with his death. He says a man he had met 2 weeks earlier had begged him to accompany him to sell a car. Unknown to him, it was a stolen car. He says the unavailability of petrol in the area where the incident happened is why he's alive today, as he was beaten by a mob with car ties put around his neck, ready to be set ablaze in Somanya.
So in the course of running, they suspected me as an armed robber or a criminal. And they hold on me. When they caught me, they decided to kill me.
To kill you?
Yes. In fact, they beat me to the point of death. And they've also brought a tie, a car tie, old tie, and they put it on me. They tied me down and they put a tie on me. Wanted to set fire on me, and a police patrol passed by to rescue me.
He has some advice for young people.
If I knew my friend would vanish in the scene of arrest, I couldn't have followed him. So my advice is that the youth should be careful with whom become their friends.
Within the giant walls of the Nsawam prisons, Nyakun, who dropped out of primary school, acquired some education and now holds a bachelor's degree in biblical studies. He now speaks impeccable English and a full-time evangelist and an author. His book, From Grass to Grace, captures his tumultuous life journey.
We are here at Promised Land in the Kantamanso constituency. Richard Nyakun, who has just been released from the Nsawam medium prisons, is going to meet his mother for the first time in 24 years. Family members and siblings of Richard Nyakun tell us that after he was incarcerated, they had to tell his mother that her son, favorite son, had traveled outside the country. They knew that she couldn't bear the pain and agony if they had told her that her son had been incarcerated. And today, they are heading to the home, and Richard Nyakun would reunite with his mother for the first time in 24 years.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Nyakun's mother, who has not seen him for more than 20 years, could not hide her joy. She has hearing and speaking difficulties. One of her children offered to translate what she was saying.
What she's saying is that it has really been a very long time. Every day we tell her that he's coming. He has cried and cried and cried. Now that he has come there, he thank God. And he's thank God that now she has seen her son.
Nyakun's brother Stephen Dawuti says they had to tell a lie to keep their mother alive to see this day.
You know her mother's condition. So she was there when our brother was arrested. So it became a problem. He wasn't eating, in fact. So at a point in time, we have to decide to save her life. So we told her that our brother has been released and that he has traveled abroad.
While in prison, Nyakun lost his wife and his child. He is hopeful of a new start. And
that's a very heartwarming tale there. Let's move to business, where Ghana's total earnings have been hit by COVID-19 shocks, as latest figures show a decline of $2.5 billion. Daryl joins us.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Ghana's total earnings from exports have been hit hard by COVID-19 shocks. Latest Bank of Ghana figures show that earnings declined $2.5 billion compared to what was realized during the same period last year. But should we be worried about this? Well, here's George Jaffe.
What the country secured in the first 2 months of this year is about $300 million short of what Ghana got in the first 2 months of 2020. This can be attributed to declining prices of commodities on the international market, like gold and cocoa, that are yet to pick up from the pre-pandemic levels as a result of lockdowns and economies yet to open up fully because of the COVID restrictions. The immediate impact of this will be on the international reserves, which will affect the amount of hard currencies available to finance our imports if this trend should continue. It may also not be good for the city's fortunes or firm stability going forward, as these earnings are needed to act as a buffer to firmly stabilize the Ghana city. And also at the time that we need these revenues badly to finance deficit and rising interest payment, this can be described as worrying. The country's international reserves, according to the Bank of Ghana, has also declined to $8.7 billion compared to $10 billion in February 2020. This will cover 4.2 months of import cover. Another development that could be described as not so good when it comes to stabilizing the economy in these COVID times. On the other side, the country spent about $2.2 billion to finance our imports compared to the same period for last year. This shows that our import bill has gone up by some $202 million compared to the same period for last year. But despite these challenges, the country still recorded a trade balance of $339 million ending February this year, which can be described as somehow comforting. Business and consumer confidence is still struggling to pick up strongly, as data from the Bank of Ghana show that it is slightly below compared to February 2020.
Now, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana has petitioned the National Pensions Regulatory Authority over an alleged submission of processing forms for retirees, which is likely to deny their members the full benefits of retirement. According to ClockSat, the said form was designed in a manner that denied pensioners any further claims thereafter. The association said coercing retirees to sign such declaration forms was wrong and has therefore petitioned the NPRA. Here is Isaac Bampo Ado, who is Executive Secretary of ClockSat.
I think for the past month, the petitions have been pouring in, day in, every day, with various issues relating to how they have been shortchanged, relating to their pension benefits. So the petitions are every day. The petitions are coming. So far, about 150 petitions on pension issues we have received.
What actions have you taken?
Well, we have notified and petitioned the NPRA, since they are the regulators related to pensions, and our good selves and SNIT. We are all being regulated by NPRA, so that is the authority. So we've given them 2 weeks. Since last week, we want to see what action NPR will take against SNIT related to these issues. Because it's very clear that our pensioners are being given a raw deal. The ignorant ones are being paid Kofi pension. And that's an association. I don't think we will sit by and allow our members to be cheated. We've been having some meetings. Currently, we are yet to conclude a formula. The technical teams have met. And we're about to conclude the formula for the calculation of benefits. That's why we are at a loss, that whilst the formula has not been concluded, SNIT is coercing our retirees to sign a declaration accepting the bogus formula they are using to calculate pension benefits.
That's your business update for now. Sports is up next, so stay tuned.
Time for sports. Oreku Ampofo is here. Oreku, I can't help having mixed feelings, about Ransford Osei's retirement.
Yeah, it's one that triggers a lot of memories. You know, it's one of those memories that a lot of people had lost count of. People didn't really remember, what's happening with Ransford Osei and all that. Of course, he was a bit, out of the spotlight. And boom, we just hear yesterday evening that he's decided to retire. at a very early age, 30, especially in football.
Yeah, for most soccer players can go up to 35.
I think that's what's been the shocking part of the story, the fact that you didn't hear from him and then he just comes out to retire at age 30. But it's a tricky one that has, you know, triggered a lot of memories and it started a conversation about, you know, our players and how far they are going in terms of their potential. You look at him, the likes of Dominic Adia, Sadiq Adams, all these guys where, you know, he stood by Tony Cruz and held, you know, the silver boot. That's for the 2007, you know, African Youth World Cup, for the 2007 Under-17 World Cup, sorry. And then he went on to win the golden boot in the Africa Cup of Nations and then in Egypt as well. So he was a prominent goal scorer and he was ranked as the top 50 players to become the next big thing in 2007. And I don't even think he made the top, you know, 1,000 out of those group of players. So it's a potential that certainly didn't even reach halfway, struggled, and he went on to play for 11 clubs, never really settled and all that. So it's a difficult one, but it's one that inspires, you know, conversations about players and their moves and their agents and how, you know, patient they should be and how it should be calculated, your next steps, especially after you start to come into the spotlight. It's
true, and I'm reminded, for instance, of Dominic Adia, who went straight to AC Milan after he performed so well in that World Cup. And, you know, he warmed the bench for so long, his form dipped so much. It was quite disappointing. All I'm thinking is that someone like Ransford would have a lot to teach.
Certainly. I don't think he should go silent. We are getting another, you know, good crop of young players emerging again, and we don't want to see these mistakes again. So you do want to see these guys, you know, come out and talk about their experiences and how it would help, you know, shape the lives of our young and upcoming footballers as well.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And that's it for Joy News Desk. Up next is Mapito Sabidi with Joy News Interactive. I'll be back at midday with Joy News Today. See you then.